Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar, No Assembly Required, Introducing the Race Youth Needs Assessment. And next slide. Yeah. My name is Miriam Aliso from Race Center, and I am going to walk you through some of the features to interact with this Zoom. Please use the Q&A session to ask questions to the presenters and the chat if you have any questions regarding any technical issue. Para acceder el canal en español, van a ver en la banda o cinta negra un globo que indica interpretación. Hagan clic allí, luego seleccionan español y oprimen donde dice Mute Original Audio. Esto último filtra completamente la presentación en inglés para que puedan escuchar con claridad a nuestro intérprete que está por llegar. On the top, you will see a C caption. We're going to enable this feature so you can see the captions. And also we have Dina Hazen, the interpreter for American Sign Language. So to pin the interpreter, hover over the video of the participant. You will see the three dots. And you click on the three dots and you can select pin. Right? So next slide.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josie Badger, and I am one of the directors for the RAISE project. It's so great to have all of you here on what I believe is a really important topic, and that is how to truly evaluate youth, especially as you are getting young adults more engaged in the work that you do. As part of RAISE, if you're here today, you know that we have webinars. We also have newsletters, resources, blogs, and an upcoming summit on June 24th. If that's something you'd be interested in attending, it's in person, and it will be in Philadelphia. But we are really excited to have our speakers here today, Pam and Linda, who we've been working with since 2014, but particularly around this issue of youth evaluation over the past year. So I'm really excited to pass it over to my friends.
Thank you, Josie and Miriam. Before we get started, my very excellent colleague and co-evaluator, Linda Radecki, and I would like to share a little bit about our backgrounds. I'm an independent evaluation consultant located in Princeton, New Jersey. I work with all kinds of organizations across the country, especially those that help children and youth with disabilities and with special healthcare needs and their families. In addition to working with RAISE, Linda and I work together to help the OSEP Regional Parent Technical Assistance Centers with their evaluation activities. My evaluation firm, Kelley Analytics, just completed working on a needs assessment for the National Coordinating Center for Epilepsy and a statewide needs assessment for the Early Hearing Detection and Intervention Program here in New Jersey. And I think that's enough about me for now. Linda, would you like to tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Linda Radecki. I'm an independent evaluation and quality improvement consultant based in San Diego, California. My work broadly focuses on family, child, youth, health, and wellness. And I'm thrilled to be working with the RAISE team and with Pam on the work that we've been doing with RAISE over the past several years. So excited to share with you about the new needs assessment toolkit today.
Great. And it's so excellent to see so many people here today. This is really, really great. So for the next 30 minutes or so, Linda and I will be taking you on a guided tour through this new, exciting, and helpful RAISE resource, the RAISE Youth Needs Assessment Toolkit. We're going to be describing the different components of the toolkit and discussing how you can use the toolkit for youth needs assessment activities at your parent center. And while it's written with parent centers in mind, the toolkit information will work just as well in any type of organization or professional setting. So just like the title of this webinar implies, there is no assembly required with this toolkit, meaning you'll be able to plan and implement a youth needs assessment right out of the box with the resources that you already have. You won't need any fancy software or outside consultants or an advanced degree. Okay, so last year, Ray's approached me and Linda with the idea of developing a toolkit in response to some feedback that they'd received from parent centers requesting more in-depth assistance on planning and conducting youth with disabilities needs assessments. And as evaluation consultants, needs assessments are something that we are often called upon to assist programs with, either as part of a larger program evaluation or as a standalone project. But we understand that not all organizations have the resources to hire an evaluation consultant. So we wanted to make this toolkit as user-friendly as possible to show you that a needs assessment is something that any parent center or organization can do themselves just by following a few simple steps. When planning this toolkit, Ray's emphasized that it was important that it be evidence-based. So we began our toolkit development with an extensive literature review on conducting needs assessments with youth with disabilities. This included peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed publications, websites, government reports, books, trade publications, magazines, results briefs, newsletters, you name it, we reviewed it. We sorted through and documented all of the information from hundreds of sources, and we boiled it down to what we felt were the most important things to know, just the main key points, and those formed the foundation of this toolkit. The full title of the toolkit is the Raise Youth with Disabilities Needs Assessment Toolkit for Parent Centers. Because that's kind of a mouthful, we just call it the Raise Youth Needs Assessment Toolkit. It is divided into 3 sections. Part 1 is a basic introduction to needs assessment. Part 2 presents some things to consider when conducting youth with disabilities needs assessments. And Part 3 is a compendium of example questions that you can use as templates when conducting youth with disabilities needs assessments. And we'd like to give a special thank you to the RAISE team of young people with disabilities experts, Everett Deibler, Ren Coloni, and Jennifer Stanton for their review of and contributions to the example questions. Part 1 begins with clarifying what a needs assessment is. In a nutshell, a needs assessment is a systematic process of gathering, analyzing, and reporting information about the needs of a community, as well as its strengths and assets. And a need is defined as the gap between what currently is and what should be. Needs assessments are guided by the question, what do our clients or the people we serve need, and how can those needs be met? The purpose of a needs assessment is to use that information gained to make plans to meet those needs. An effective needs assessment allows your parent center or organization to present a more objective description of the people you serve than you otherwise would from relying only on your own impressions, experiences, and informal discussions. Part 1 also walks you through the 3 phases of conducting a needs assessment. The first phase is pre-assessment. That will help you prepare to implement the needs assessment. The second phase is assessment or data gathering, which involves collecting and analyzing the needs assessment data. And then the third phase is post-assessment, which involves setting priorities at your parent center or organization to address the identified needs, communicate the results of your needs assessment, and evaluate your needs assessment's effectiveness. In part 2, we focus on some important considerations when conducting needs assessments with youth with disabilities. These all come from the findings of our literature review, and they include considerations related to access and recruitment, practical issues, challenges and how to address them, impacts of involving youth with disabilities in a needs assessment, and a list of helpful resources with links if you want more information on any of these topics. Now, I'd like to take a minute to talk about the importance of involving youth with disabilities in the needs assessment process. You are probably all familiar with that saying, nothing about us without us, and conducting youth with disabilities needs assessments is no exception. Including youth with disabilities in planning and implementing and interpreting the results of your needs assessment is likely to produce more useful and relevant results. It can have positive impacts for the youth involved when done well, but it can potentially have negative effects if done poorly. So, for example, think about how youth with disabilities might feel if they think their involvement is not valued, or if there are no strategies in place to help manage any feelings of distress that might come up during a needs assessment process. And then finally, involving youth with disabilities in the needs assessment process is really critical because it means the needs assessment is being carried out with or by youth with disabilities rather than to, about, or for them. And now I am going to hand the floor over to Linda, who is going to walk you through part 3 of the toolkit.
Thank you, Pam. So picking up with part three of the toolkit is where you'll find the question bank. And for ease of finding what you need more quickly, the questions are organized by the following categories that you see here: demographics, event registration, particularly focused around accommodations, parent center feedback, employment needs and supports, resources, services, and support needs, and then some example focus group questions, both for youth and families. An important part of this webinar is providing plenty of Q&A time for all of you. So to make sure that we do that, I'm going to take just a few minutes to walk through each section of the question bank in a very introductory way, in hopes that what we share today leaves you wanting more and that you'll explore and unpack the toolkit for yourself. Next slide. So as you begin to use the toolkit, one thing in particular that we wanted to call out today about the question bank, regardless of the type of question you might be looking for, is that you'll see tips throughout from youth and parent center experts. We're really happy and proud to include these because they offer some great pointers and considerations, not only about how we ask certain types of questions, but also encouraging thought about why we ask certain questions. So when you access the toolkit, we recommend checking those out. They're always identified in a call-out box and with the little light bulb icon. So now on to a preview of the question bank sections. And the toolkit starts with a section on demographic type questions. These probably look familiar. They're the kinds of descriptive questions that a parent center might ask in a needs assessment or another type of survey to understand and describe their audience or survey sample. Next, you'll find questions on accommodations specific to event registration. You may already be using these types of questions for your own meeting planning, and of course, some are more suited to in-person versus virtual events, but the toolkit provides a compilation for you all in one place. So moving along, the next section focuses on gathering feedback about parent centers. In this section, you'll find questions focused on parent center awareness and engagement, experience and satisfaction, and feedback on group training activities. With a focus on the youth and young adults that your parent center serves or endeavors to serve, the toolkit includes a section that includes questions specific to employment needs and supports. Questions related to finding and maintaining a job, types of assistance needed for retaining a job, and then items about transition services, both challenges and supports. Following the section on employment, there are questions that address resource, service, and support needs, both for basic needs as well as within the community. And then the final section of the question bank is a bit of a bonus section. Although not specific to needs assessment, you'll find questions here that can be used to build a discussion guide for both youth and family focus groups. There are separate example questions for youth and families. And if you're interested in gathering information in greater depth than a survey can provide, focus groups can be an excellent way to do that. And I think here, Pam, I'm going to pass it back to you, and we're going to open it up for some questions.
Yes, that's right. Let's take a minute or two to answer any questions from the audience. Miriam, did we get any questions?
Let's see. I don't see any questions right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll give it a minute, but in the meantime, I know a question that must be on everybody's minds. How do we access the toolkit? All you need to do to view and download the toolkit is to visit the RAISE website and look for the resources menu, and you should see it listed there. Okay. If there aren't any questions, that really brings us to the end of today's sneak peek at the Youth Needs Assessment Toolkit. Thank you to Josie and all of our friends at RAISE for hosting today's webinar. And thanks to everyone who attended. We really appreciate your participation, and we hope you find the toolkit a useful addition to your professional toolbox. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pam and Linda. That was great. And folks, I really encourage you to check it out. It will be sent in your email along with the recording of this webinar. And we will be updating the page that hosts the toolkit to include this link to this webinar as well. Just as a reminder, it is available in plain language. The questions are, and so we worked very, very hard to address the needs of the younger populations, identity questions, and language. And I was an eye-opener for me, and I feel like I'm quote unquote woke with youth stuff, but it really was an eye-opener. So I hope that you are able to use it as much as we hope and think you could. So thank you all so very much.